At T.Dental, we provide a pretty relaxing and safe environment for patients to come and have all the dental needs done. We have the most amazing team. My team knows how to make patients feel welcome. We also have a good entertainment system. We have TVs up in the ceiling so patients can actually enjoy their Netflix shows or enjoy just watching the news or hockey or whatever they want to watch while they're having dental cleaning. So how cool is that? The fact that I belong to a community like downtown Yonge is pretty unique. It's a very hip, young crowd here. We have an open door concept where everybody's welcome. For any patient that comes in and have their first hygiene visit with us, we will give you free whitening kit to take home to have a brighter smile.
Hey y'all, I'm Rudy Blair of Rudy Blair Entertainment Media, rudyblairmedia.com, and I am your host of Indie Fridays, the interviews with Rudy Blair, presented by Yonge-Dundas Square. Every year, Yonge-Dundas Square hosts a series of free concerts for 10 weeks in the summer, Indie Fridays, showcasing an array of performances from Canada's brightest artists. This year, Indie Fridays is going virtual for its 10th anniversary, but with a twist. Instead of live performances, I'm speaking with some of the best singer-songwriters from Toronto about themselves and the music they make, from a variety of musical genres that represent the sound of the city. Before we get started on today's interview, I want to give you an update on the Yonge-Dundas Square neighborhood. The downtown Yonge businesses are open and ready to help you with all of your needs. Whether you're looking for fresh haircuts or fresh flowers, meal kits or delicious takeout, the latest fashions or even home decor, find everything you want, all within a 10-minute walk of the heart of Toronto. Check out the link to the business map in the description below to begin your hashtag Young Local journey. The video you just saw is from one of those very businesses. We hope that you can show them some love the next time you're in the neighborhood or, of course, online anytime. And I want to let you in on a Toronto music secret, and it's right across the road from the square. FRIAR'S Music Museum is reopening soon. Toronto's celebrated music history is now on permanent display in the free FRIAR'S Music Museum, with curation rotated twice a year by the downtown Yonge BIA. Located in a small dedicated area on the second floor inside the Yonge-Dundas flagship Shoppers Drug Mart, the FRIAR'S Music Museum is the only museum in the city that pays homage to Toronto's unique music history. You can follow them on Facebook at FRIAR'S Music Museum for updates. Today, I'll be speaking with R&B recording, singer, songwriter, and former member of the Juno Award-winning group In Essence, the artist known as Drew, about his 2 decades in music, upcoming releases, and his latest single, YNF.
Rolling around in the foreign GTS. Met shorty on Broadway at 7th. She was looking wild, sweet, candy coated in the frame, cherry covered with a little bit of cinnamon.
Drew, it's always a pleasure speaking with you. In fact, during this COVID pandemic, I think I've spoken to you the most. We've probably talked at least 3-4 different times throughout this time. How are things going with you? And I know you're still keeping yourself busy, but how are you handling COVID-19?
I think I'm all right, man. Like, I'm just staying safe. There's so many gray areas with this COVID stuff, brother, and the testing and the percentages of deaths and how the numbers have been, altered. And there's just so much weirdness going on that I've just separated myself, and I'm just focusing on me and my family and what we need to do. I'm not. I can't take a lot of the. I don't know. I can't really watch the media too much more, to tell you the truth. Mainstream media, that is.
I can't argue with that. I mean, when you talk about what's going on in the U.S. right now, which is baffling, the fact that people are still fighting about wearing a mask, not wearing a mask. I scratch my head. There's so many crazy things going on. Plus the fact we haven't really had live performances. I remember one of the times we talked just around the holidays, and of course you were performing at Yonge-Dundas Square, and you were helping the Salvation Army raise money and awareness and all these different things. And what is it like for you not to be performing live, because that is something you do so well, of course?
What does it feel like to not do shows?
Not do shows the way we've been doing it for forever.
It's killing me, man. It's killing me. It's I got to do the Toronto Shine show that went on at Ontario Place a couple weeks ago. That was actually amazing, but still people honking their horns in their cars. It's like it's a different kind of energy, to feel as a performer. But we just got to stay positive and know that we're going to get through this, and a lot of the confusion is going to come to light, and hopefully, things will get back to normal sooner than later.
Absolutely true, my friend. Look, I wanted to talk a little bit. I mean, because we've known each other for such a long time, really, conversations with you isn't like anything I have to go and look up and study, because really it's just, okay, we're just catching up from our last conversation. But I want to talk a little bit about your career and getting into this music business. And, of course, you being part of one of the most iconic and groundbreaking groups from the past and becoming a solo artist. But in the beginning with all this, for you, though, where did that love of music begin for you?
It began from the little child watching my older brother sing in the church. That's where it began, and he kind of overheard me kind of singing to myself, and he was like, "Oh, Andrew, you actually have a nice voice." That's actually where it began. That's how it got into my head that, oh, okay, wow, if my brother's telling me that, then maybe I should pay a little more attention to this talent and maybe hone it a little bit more.
Was there ever a point in time in that beginning that, even though somebody did tell you, hey, you got talent, that you were just like, I don't know, and you wanted to do maybe other things? Maybe you wanted to be an astronaut or something like that.
No, that was I was so young then. I didn't even really like. It was between like being an architect. That was something that I kind of messed with a little bit as a in high school. Other than music, but it's from such a young age. It was just always music. I don't think I had a choice but to do music, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, we wouldn't have let you have that choice, too. We would have told you, yeah, we want you to be doing music, though. Who were your idols growing up listening to?
Stevie Wonder, Michael Jackson, Jackson 5, of course, New Edition, Ralph Tresvant, and particularly from New Edition. I just loved his voice was just amazing. And, but still, like Jodeci, Boyz II Men, Usher, more from, I'm mostly grown on that 90s R&B sound. So that's the biggest influence, I would say.
When it came to 80s and 90s and early 2000s, a lot of things were changing when it came to the landscape of Canadian music and the Canadian music scene. And with the birth of rap, hip-hop, and Canadian, I would use the term Canadian R&B, things were changing, and there were artists like, the first person I would think of is Deborah Cox, making those kind of moves. And of course, you had Maestro First West, Chaos. There were a lot of artists back then that were changing the landscape and how people looked at Canadian music in those genres. You, my friend, became part of a group that did the same thing. In essence, how did that group come together, and did you folks even realize how you were going to help change that landscape also?
In essence, came together from, myself and Oba Hyacinth, which is Touch. His nickname was Touch in the group. We were just really big fans of just groups. And he wanted to be in another group, and they kind of didn't have space for him. So he felt kind of left out. So he's like, you know what, if you guys don't have space for me, I'm going to start my own group. And that's when he came to me. He's like, Drew, I love your voice. Did you ever consider being in a group? And I didn't hesitate for a second. I was like, yep, I'm down. Who else is going to be in the group? And that's when we started to look for the other three members.
When it all came together, were you surprised at the sound that you guys came out with? Because let's face it, a lot of times when you have talent like that, again, and no insult to what we have here in the Great White, people always think, oh, they got to be from England, they got to be from Australia, they got to be from the States.
Yeah.
They never think that not just coming from Canada, they're not even going to think twice coming from Toronto.
Yeah, back then there were no other R&B groups, so it's not like we had a template or something to look up to other than the U.S. groups. But to do it in Canada was different. Canadian radio was different back then too. Didn't hear a lot of black people, black Canadian artists on Canadian radio back then. So we knew that we were pioneering and we were breaking ground, but we didn't really know how it would turn out till we got going. It wasn't until we got with BMG, and shout out to Lisa Zabitnu, who was the president at the time. She was blown away by our harmony and our influence of Boys to Men and just the combination of our voices, and she saw the vision, and she really took us to the next level, 100%. So shout out to Lisa.
What was it like to be on that next level? Because again, when you're the only one, I mean, to do the shows, to get out there, to do the traveling, to get your names out there, to go to the radio stations and, introducing yourselves and then performing for them a cappella. What was that like?
That was amazing, man. It felt like it was really happening finally. Like we were a group about, maybe 10 years before that happened. So it finally felt like, wow, we're now on that level. We really felt like we were on our way, and other people were starting to recognize that. We got people like Funkmaster Flex, playing us on Hot 97 and, showing us so much support, like we did shows across New York and Boston, Jersey, following Funkmaster Flex to his to his parties, and he would just bring us on stage to perform. These are my brothers from Toronto, in essence, and we're coming from Toronto back then to be introduced by Funkmaster Flex. You know what I mean? And being played on Hot 97, and it's like, yo, this is really happening.
Even though you had recordings from New Innovation, it was the master plan that really set the stage. Even with the name, the master plan. I mean, what was the concept behind there, and why do you think those ingredients worked?
Sorry, what was the second part of that? Why do I think what worked?
Why did it work, the master plan, with the songs, just everything? Why did that work?
I think we were kind of breaking boundaries a little bit. Like, we called it the master plan because we felt like we had the right combination of sounds, and we weren't following, at that time, 112, or some of the groups that were out at that point. We had our own style, and we were kind of anti them in a way, and they were very clean cut, and, we had our hair grown out, we had the cornrows and braids, and we kind of wanted to be anti-112 or anti, these clean cut groups. So I think with the combination of that, and then with our influence from Canadian music, right, like songs like, Friend of Mine, that was produced by John Levine, that gave us that, little rock edge.
Let's get into Friend of Mine.
Yeah.
Because that was such a mix of so many different things, and in some ways, including a cappella, too. The concept and the approach for that song.
Let's try it again.
What was that like for you, like for the band? Why did you guys approach that song the way you guys did?
Well, it was I can't lie, it was a little influenced by the president of BMG also. That's why I mentioned Canadian radio at the time, because being a black group, we maybe were a little more influenced by hip-hop, maybe more edgier music. But she was like, well, guys, you guys are, in Canada. You guys need to make more, music that can kind of speak more to Canadians. So that's how we came up with that concept, A Friend of Mine, that has that little rock edge, but we still made sure that it had the soul, underneath it.
I don't want you to gotta get away. I don't want to stay, but you keep calling me. Oh, damn it, I'm in need. Someone help me, please. I gotta put you down, 'cause you want me to reach. Used to be a friend of mine. A time used to be a friend of mine. I look at you.
But the thing is, though, the steps that were taken with that song earned you guys a Juno Award, and congratulations on that. What was that like?
That was amazing. I don't know if you remember, but I went up there.
I remember.
I was like, Mom, we did it. we were so happy. We were so excited. It felt great. You know, there was a lot of artists that didn't expect us to win it, and they were very, very bothered by the fact that we won. And not only did we win that year, but we got to perform at the Junos that year also.
Now, you see, that's important to note. And again, this is no, I'm not putting the Junos down, and we tear us down, but R&B groups, hip-hop groups did not perform on the Junos, on the broadcast. And that's just fact. In fact, it was something that I would speak about many, many times. Do people realize that was a breakthrough also to have you guys, even, and so we're talking like what were you looking at, 203?
This is 2004.
Yeah, 2004. So we're talking less than 30 years. You would think, no, why would you say less than 30 years? But this was the climate thing. You guys broke ground on that.
Yeah, like that was actually the last year that they aired the R&B category on the actual show. So after that, it was only in, you know how they had the dinner the night before?
Yes.
So since that award show in 04, they've never aired the R&B category on the show again. It's been always in the dinner. So we felt honored to still be able to, you know, be on TV in front of everyone to accept our award. It shouldn't be something that I should be so happy about, but it's a little sad actually that I'm just happy that we had the chance to be on TV, because we should have had the chance anyway. You know, but you know, I know Rascals back in the day kind of called out the Junos. Was it the Junos or the Much Music Awards?
It was Junos, because I do believe they didn't even attend.
Yes.
Because of that.
Yes, because it didn't air, and they boycotted it. And you know, and I think that more artists in Canada should really stand up to make change here, because you know that made people look at it as, you know what, that's true. Why isn't this popular form of music not being aired on the show? That doesn't really make sense. And how do they choose that? You know?
No. And one thing I will point out too, one of the things that also really upset me too was whenever they would, and they did this back to back, and I don't know if you remember this or not. They did a salute to hip hop and a salute to R&B 2 years in a row, and basically they just had artists coming out like Deborah Cox to perform for like 10 seconds, and then another artist, and another artist.
Right.
Sit there and go, why are they doing this? Why don't they just, like, how can you put 10 seconds on Deborah Cox?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Completely crazy.
Yeah.
But what also is crazy too, my friend, is you guys all went your separate ways.
Yes.
Why did that happen with the success that you guys were having?
Yeah, there's a lot of people that have that question. We felt like we were just starting. But the Canadian music industry at that time was a funny place, and they, with no warning, dropped the whole urban roster at BMG at that time. So everyone got dropped with no warning. So we had actually just finished recording our second album, and we didn't even have the chance to release it. We were preparing to release the first single, a song called All Night. We were so excited. We were rehearsing and getting ready to put it out. And we all got the email that BMG had decided to cut off the whole urban roster. So that was us, Beto Concept, Keisha Kashante, a couple more artists that were just let go. So that put us in a situation where, you know, I had, my daughter was young at the time. Some other members had children, and, you know, it was kind of a hard choice. We actually toured Europe after we got dropped. So that tour was a very interesting, bittersweet situation, you know, because we knew at the end of that tour that we had to make some real choices. So I made the choice, like, the group knew I was going to do a solo project. I wasn't necessarily going to leave the group, but I was going to do a solo project. And so I made the choice to record the one album and put it out.
So wait a minute. So there's an In Essence album basically
unreleased.
in the vault, unreleased.
Yep.
Ooh, somebody's got to talk to somebody.
Yeah. And it's a really good album too, man. It's a really good album. So it really hurt us. Like, it really hurt us at that time. So.
How did it affect you, though, going out as a solo artist? Now here you are on your own. Did you have fears? Because now it's not about just talent. Now it's about understanding the business side.
Yes.
How did that change you?
Well, that started FRIAR'S Entertainment, which is my label I've been on since then, since 2007. That company's registered. So that forced me to kind of boss up and make my own destiny and create my own opportunities. So since then, I've built FRIAR'S to what it is now, and now we're in the position to sign new artists, to develop new artists, and kind of give artists the opportunities that I wish I had coming up.
You have, and I can say this since I'd say 2007. You have consistently been releasing music an average a year and a half.
Yes, sir.
What keeps you going, knowing that not just the fact that economically things change, but also the climate on what music is standing out in what genre? What keeps you going, and what keeps you consistent where you still stick to what you feel is right and not following the trends?
I think that happened over time. Like, I think as an artist, you grow and you kind of get to know yourself and what works for you best. And sometimes what works best isn't always the trendy, type of music that could be out at that time. And there's certain artists whose sound can stand the test of time, no matter what genre, no matter what, climate of the industry and sound that's big at that time. There's certain artists that can still put out their sound and it still cuts through. So I've paid attention to what where's my sweet spot? What is it in my voice or my tone or my subject matter that keeps people have spoke about over the years that have kept them interested? And I've paid attention to that. And I think that, and a little bit of just not really caring as much about what anyone else really thinks. So that's kind of what it's come to now.
Not caring has earned you 2 Juno nominations.
Well, I mean, I think that's what being an artist is kind of just making your own way, right? And kind of letting the chips fall as they may. But at least you're true to yourself. And at the end of the day, 20 years from now, I can listen to this music and still feel good about it and not feel like, why did I do that sound just to impress, just to get on these certain radio stations? You know what I mean?
Oh, I know exactly what you mean. I know you don't have a lot of time to want to jump into it right now. What's the new music happening as we speak?
The new album, The Rebirth 2020, the new single, YNF. Been out since April. It's streaming amazingly on Spotify. The next single, Can't Get Enough, is scheduled to come out. I don't want to give a date yet, but there'll be the new single, Can't Get Enough, dropping very soon. And the new album, we officially finally can promote a date, October 12th. The Rebirth will be out on all streaming platforms.
Is that what you consider your career as, The Rebirth?
The Rebirth 2020. Yeah, that's how it feels right now, because I'm a new man. I've learned my lessons. I've grown up. I'm not as influenced by, crap of the industry and, groupies and this or that. I'm more focused on my family and just upgrading my life and just learning and helping other artists. So I'm definitely a new man.
Before we go, what advice can you give those young cats out there who are hoping to follow the path that you and the folks from In Essence have been able to pave the way?
I'm just about to go to underground parking, but I want to say, stay true to yourself, if you know what I mean, and don't listen to too many different people, and just keep pushing through. That's all I can really say, to tell you the truth.
Quickly, social media, where do we go to follow you?
Follow me at Drew Grange, DRUGRANGE, and drewgrange.com.
Drew, always a pleasure speaking with you, my friend.
Thank you, Rudy.
so much. Be safe, my friend.
You too, brother. Thanks again.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you to Drew for appearing on Indie Fridays, the interviews with Rudy Blair, presented by Yonge-Dundas Square. Check out other upcoming interviews by following Yonge-Dundas Square on social media. Links to each Friday's interviews will be shared weekly. Next week's artist is four-time Reggae Juno Award nominee Amoy. And if you're still looking for more of Toronto's music scene, you should check out the Downtown Young BIA's Play the Park series. Great music still abounds the Downtown Young neighborhood. Play the Parks, though not in the literal parks at the moment, is streaming music on Tuesdays and Thursdays from the different businesses in the neighborhood. It's local artists performing pop-up shows in non-traditional spaces around the neighborhood. It continues to be a performance avenue for emerging Toronto artists and also introduces people to unique businesses in the community. To watch previous performances and for information on upcoming performances, go to www.downtownyoung.com and check out the event page. It's all linked in the description below. Thank you for listening to Indie Fridays, the interviews with Rudy Blair, presented by Yonge-Dundas Square. I'm your host, Rudy Blair. We'll see you on the flip side.